Satan has created his own species, and they don't have souls, they don't have compassion, they don't have feelings, typical emotions attached to a human that a human would have. They're just psychopaths. That's all they are, without the ability to feel. You know, they can't feel joy, they can't feel hurt, they can't feel anything. They're just psychopaths. And they're created to do menial tasks for the reptilians. The reptilians don't want to do the menial tasks of the hybrid program. They left it to the small gray aliens. And Peggy Kate has heard in reverse speech these reptilians talk about how they mass produce and create these small gray aliens. And so some of these people that are thinking that humans or women are being abducted to become hosts for hybrid grays, I don't think it's the gray aliens at all, because it's more of a mixture. It's a more human-looking race than an alien race that they're creating. If you looked at X-Men, 1, 2, and 3, maybe 4, I don't even know if there's 4 X-Men, but that whole movie series, X-Men, about hybrid children, star children being born, indigo children, children with special powers. These are hybrids. This is your result of abductions and impregnations from abductions. You know, they're not creating another species of small gray aliens out of all these abductions. They're creating something much bigger. It's just that the reptilians have put these small grays in charge of it. These small grays are mass-produced themselves by the reptilians. The reptilians are in charge. The reptoids are in charge of these small gray aliens. And the ones above them, the ones above the reptoids, is the Dracos, the Draconians, the dragons. And so you'll see the dragons, the Vikings, the Nordics, all had dragon insignias on their ships. And if you really look at these dragons, they just look like reptoids. It's a variation of a reptoid. And so we've had this reptilian dominance on the earth for thousands and thousands of years. You know, in ancient Sumer, it was divided up into city-states, and each city-state had a warlord over it. And these warlords, their job was to create war. Pretty simple. Warlords, they went to war. They would create war. And so they would war against each other, so that they would produce high body counts, and these high body counts would feed the aliens. They would come pick up the bodies at night, and all of these ancient religions, the not just the Indians, but the Norses, the Vikings, all of them, had these legends and myths about how their soldiers would be levitated off the battlefield at night. And it's because they've seen them. That's because they're being levitated off the field and they're going to the moon meat processing plant. You know, of course, I like to put them in the stars and say they're gods and name constellations after them and everything else. But that's more truth to the fact they're being levitated, taken to the earth, to the meat processing plant on the moon. And so, this has just been in our faces for thousands and thousands of years, that mankind is nothing but a human ranch of food for the aliens. And that's why it disgusts me so much. That's why, you know, I've never, ever liked an alien, even one that was trying to tell me they're friendly aliens. We're here to help mankind. If they're from this solar system, any solar system, they're not directly sent from God above himself, then they are part of Satan's hostile empire. And they're pulling your leg, they're playing your leg. And that's all there is to it. There's no such thing. You know, I did a radio show last week, and the guy was just kind of blown away that I would dare think that all aliens are evil. Yeah, they are. I mean, they're Satan's kingdom. Do you think you're going to find something good in Satan's kingdom? More power to you. I don't believe so. And the Bible says everything in his coming kingdom is corrupt. And everything will be judged and damned, because there's no redemption for anything in Satan's kingdom. And even if there were friendly aliens, the Lord would keep them away from mankind. If they wanted redemption, they weren't a part of Satan's rebellion against the Lord, but they were born generations later. Through these aliens, they were born, and they're the kids of the parents who rebelled. If they want redemption, then the Lord would set them off to be apart for the day of judgment. I just, every time I've asked the Lord about friendly aliens, I pretty much get the same answer, folks. And it's just that Satan's kingdom is very hostile, and they're playing games with mankind. And you hear, oh, that's just the humanoids that became traitors and started working with the reptilians, because there's people that have been abducted and taken to underground bases that have seen these tall Nordic and Annex humanoid angels working side by side with the reptilians and the reptoids. Wake up, people. They all work together in Satan's empire. And so there's just a different agenda. The Galactic Federation, the Federation of Worlds. Satan's kingdom is organized. They've been around for thousands and thousands of years, at least 6,000. And they've been doing a lot of breeding during that time. And these things don't die. I mean, these are angelic spirit beings. I don't know if they die out of old age. You can kill them. And so they've divided up into species and different worlds and different regions and different councils. And this whole thing with Star Wars is just a mimic. It's very eye-opening if you just sit and watch Star Wars with an open mind, because they sit and tell you. George Lucas was supposedly, someone wrote in last week that he was a CIA operative. They know this kind of information. They know better information than the churches do, because the churches aren't saying anything. The churches don't teach you anything. And so these councils in different worlds of alien beings are nothing but these fallen angels that had rebelled with Lucifer, and also the ones who fell afterwards that didn't lose their angelic looks. The Watchers who fell didn't lose their angelic looks as part of their judgment. They lost their powers, and they could no longer return to heaven, because these were the angels who decided to come to earth and procreate with human women. The churches never teach about the two different rebellions of the angels, one being Lucifer's and the other being the Watcher's rebellion. Because in each rebellion the judgments were different. In Lucifer's rebellion, they lost their angelic looks, and they became these reptiles and these reptoids and these serpents and the greys, and all these the dragons and all these other names given to them. And there's many, many different types of species of them, because they've tried to crossbreed species. I mean, they crossbreed their own races. And so crossbreeding and they're not just sitting around twiddling their thumbs on a dead rock in space waiting for judgment, folks. They're very, very intelligent and active beings, no matter how ugly they are, unless you're dealing with one of their mass-produced and created races. And so that's what we're dealing with, is what NASA and the government and the militaries of the world are in fear of right now and waiting for, is a great world harvest that they see that's coming. And I sat here for a couple of days wondering about this, thinking, okay, which harvest is it? Which harvest could it couldn't be the rapture, it wouldn't qualify. Of course they could say it was a rapture, and that would shut the church people up, but then so many people here would be left here who would think they were going to begin the rapture. You see where this goes. But if you look at Joel chapter 2 and Revelation chapter 9, both talk about alien invasions. And when we read about a third of the earth dying in famines, wars, and plagues, the four horsemen. And of course that being what's filling up the meat lockers for the aliens on the moon. They want millions and millions and millions of souls, and with just the first 6 seals, they're going to get a third of mankind. And so that's 2-point-some billion people. And so that's what, when you look at it, step back and look at it with a more open view, those are the numbers that probably have our government in sheer terror. Now, I'm not talking about the government we see, because they could care less. They're part of the problem. The Bushes and the